All right, everybody. Welcome back to yet another edition of TriStateFootball.com's Monday Night Recap Show. We are here live on November the 11th, 2024, and it is 11/11, so make a wish out there for your favorite team to go on and win their playoff game here coming up in the next round. All jokes aside, we're back on our normal scheduled Mondays again this week. A little later than normal, but it's been a long weekend for your host. For all the people out there, I've given up on the Bengals. I'm kidding. I'll never give up on the Bengals. But we're back. We're here to talk about some more playoff football action. Myself, Daniel Kuhn, and my co-host Jacob Berkemeier. And it was, I think, looking through the scores and some of the box scores, it was some stuff not surprising, but there's also some pretty surprising results, and we're going to talk about all of it here. So I'm thinking maybe, Jacob, we just kick it off, go right into Division One.
Yeah, I'll present on this little Veterans Day special.
That's right, it's Veterans Day. I almost forgot. It's late. It's been a long day. I've been up since 5. So almost forgot. Thank you to all of our veterans out there. But thank you for the reminder, Jacob. I almost forgot. That would have been bad.
That's good.
Should have gotten a little American flag theme for this.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Danny.
The background instead of being blue, just a nice American flag.
I guess I'm getting close enough with the Bills.
Yeah, you got red, white, and blue there.
My walls are very gray and white. They didn't go out. They didn't think outside the box when they built my apartment complex. So you got some white, you got some red, and then of course the background's blue. So close enough. We'll take it. All right, so let's just throw it right into this.
Yeah, so
I'll let Jacob roll with it.
Let me zoom in a little bit more so it's easier for you guys to see. So starting off, we have Moeller getting the 55-28 win over Lakota East. And I think we all kind of knew Moeller was going to come out with a win, but I was hoping East would keep it a little bit closer, but I mean, Moeller's just been so dominant all year. I don't know how much you have to add on this game. I also can get the box scores pulled up at a point if we need it.
I think, looking at the final score, it's very – I don't think the score line is surprising. I thought maybe Moeller would keep it – Lakota East would keep it a little closer than that. But, knowing what I know about both of these teams, it almost felt like inevitable that Moeller's offense would just become too much for East to really contain.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, right.
Looking at the box score, too.
It's just hard. I mean, we've talked about East a lot this year, obviously. They have some good offensive players, had some good offensive. I guess their season's over, so I'll speak of the past tense. But they had great offensive pieces this year, in Jamison Kitna, and then, their running back. He's got a cool name. Scroll down.
Ryder Hooks, yeah.
Ryder Hooks, that's it. Might be contender for name of the year. I know we've had our debates about name of the year this year, but Ryder Hooks was another good player for them this year, and he had another great night on.
Yeah, he had a great game too.
So did Jamison. I mean, outside. Yeah. So here, looking at the box score, that's the number that's popping out to me.
Yeah,
right there. It looks like Moeller's defense was able to create turnovers, and if you give Moeller the ball back, more than likely they're going to go down the field and score.
Well, and I think you get into game script a little bit too, where Moeller jumps out to a 28-0 lead. You're essentially you got to throw the ball, to try and get back into that game. But I mean, Matt Ponatowski's just continuing his dominance, 16-21, 313, 5 touchdowns. Matthew Fogler had 2 of them. Landon Adams had 2, but and then you're getting contributions here. Chris Bradley getting 2 picks, taking 1 to the house for a touchdown. So, I mean, definitely a dominant performance. Lincoln Murphy, 12 tackles. I mean, Moeller definitely they played really well. Mm-hmm. So, not to stay on this game for too long, because the next game we're talking about, I was at the Princeton and Hamilton game this weekend, and I thought it was going to be a lot closer than what it was. Especially with earlier in the year, Hamilton winning 34-0 against Princeton.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you can go. You can go.
Can we label that game as a fluke?
That's what the Princeton guys that I interviewed after the game were saying, that it was just a fluke. They said they were banged up. Like, I don't know if they were completely healthy either. But Princeton just looked dominant in this game, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Was that the game, the first matchup between them? Was that the night we had those really bad storms? Am I remembering that correctly?
I can't remember. I know it was like week 5 when they played each other. I just can't remember if that was the weather.
The timeline sounds right. Remember, because Kentucky canceled a bunch of their games. We had the after effects of that hurricane come through, and that could have played an effect in that as well, if my memory is serving me correctly. It could be wrong. But I digress. Not to say, like when I said, can we label it as a fluke? That's not to take anything away from Hamilton. They had a great season. Really strong and competitive in the GMC, got themselves to the regional quarterfinals, played tough football all throughout the season. Didn't really have what they needed there against Princeton, but.
Well, and I mean, Grayson Goldsmith, from watching the game, I felt like I didn't think he had 31 for 155, so that's a credit to him. But they did a really good job of, I think, bottling him up early. And I think he's been the guy that made Hamilton go all year he's just a big physical runner. And they set the tone early on, started off with, it was just a rough start for Hamilton too. They kind of just got behind the 8 ball quick, where it was, they snapped on a punt. They snapped it over the punter's head. Got tackled or went through the back of the end zone, safety. Then Princeton returned the safety kick for a touchdown, got called for a holding, and then like 3 plays later still scored a touchdown. So it was like a similar situation to the Moeller game, where Hamilton was down 3 or 4 scores to start. And you can see kind of at the box score here, Tarantino Brown Freeman had a crazy day. He ripped off a 65-yarder and then a 35-yarder. But really the interesting part, and I was so confused watching the game, because it was like second quarter and D'Angelo Birch was barely playing quarterback. But they were putting Antonio Hunter, who was a receiver, they were using him at QB, doing a lot of, read options and stuff. He did have a really nice pass for a touchdown to David Hambrick. But I talked to Antonio after the game, and he said that was something that they had kind of prepped for earlier in the week, was like, if they get up by a certain amount of points, they're going to get D'Angelo out of the game, keep him healthy for next week. So, and if anything too, Antonio Hunter hadn't played any quarterback before this game. So if anything, it gives you a different look that you can maybe go to against Moeller, where it's like you might have to pull out every trick in your bag or that's up your sleeve when you're playing Moeller. So, but it was, I feel a little bad for Hamilton, because I wish they would have put up a little bit better of a fight, but they still had a tremendous season. They went on an 8 or 9 game win streak, and then, just run into a really good team too. Princeton's beat some really good teams, and they just had that one kind of blemish with Hamilton. So
absolutely
earlier in the regular season, but it was, and then also I felt, so the first quarter of that game took 50 minutes because, Andre Parker, he's the coach of Princeton, but his kid, he's a junior linebacker, really good player for Princeton. He had to get carted off and get like air casted. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the injury didn't look very good. So that'll definitely play a factor into Princeton's, hopes for next week, or this week. But hope that he heals up and he'll be ready for next season and have a really good year next year. But definitely congratulations to Princeton for getting that win there. Really good win for them. So that's going to be your matchup here is Moeller and Princeton.
Sets up a rematch of week 1.
Yeah, and then we also have a rematch of week 1 down here too. I went to the West and St. X game in week 1 this season. So you can see here, Elder put up a great fight against West. They held West. I mean, they were playing them tough, and I think what I heard was Elder had the ball in the final minutes of the game, and then just similar to the LaSalle game I watched, or when they played LaSalle, they just couldn't really close it out at the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, they have a sophomore at QB, so there's a lot to build upon, I think, for Elder too.
I mean, excuse me. All things considered, I mean, Elder still had a great year. I mean, didn't fare very well in the GCL South, but still managed to play tough in the playoffs. Like you said, with a sophomore quarterback, young quarterback, somebody you can turn to and look at and be like, all right, we can build off this guy going forward into the future.
Yeah.
And they played one of the better teams in the entire state, very close. And there's nothing to, keep your head down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be disappointed in the loss, but if you look at the bottom line, that's an impressive showing for them at this stage. And I think in their program's life, what this year's kind of been, where they were at kind of behind the 8 ball in conference, had a tough draw at that 7 seed, but still played that 2 seed really tough. And kudos to them. And then West rolls on like they have all year.
Yeah, West has been really good all year, and I mean their defense has always been a staple of Bolden coach teams.
Bolden ball.
Yeah, so and then it's just so funny because I swear Bolden and Spec match up against each other every playoffs. So that's, a fun storyline to pay attention to. I'm sure there's some pretty cool stats on, their playoff record against one another. But yeah, like you can see, doesn't show the score. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit and it'll show
let me take that off. There you go. You can see it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, St. X beat Winton Woods 22-10. So if you're Winton Woods, definitely a little rough, but first year in Division I. So, and you play St. X, who's just really, really good year in, year out. So I don't think that's anything to be upset about, but Winton Woods had a great year too. Great regular season.
Like we talked about, it really boiled down to me for an experience thing, right?
Yeah.
And they played them within 2 scores. I mean, I know 10 points isn't really, the greatest showing of all time offensively, but you still held them to 22 and kept it somewhat interesting throughout the contest. And that's, a testament to their coaching, their players' ability, and they can build momentum off of this going into next year because now they've got a year of Division I, at least postseason football under their belt.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight Kobe Clapper's game too. 9 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a fumble recovery.
He is a beast.
Yeah, he's been an animal all year. And then Vollmer too. Like, I just think it's interesting how I think going into the year, we kind of figured X would be maybe a little bit more pass heavy and be leaning on that more. But it's just like Herb Street running for 52 yards, Vollmer for 77. So it's like they definitely lean on that part, like the QBs being able to run. And it's been working out for them these last few weeks. And then shout out to Owen Davidson too, going 3 for 3 on field goals. And those were huge in this game.
Right.
Both teams struggle to score, playing good defenses. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're Winton Woods, it's definitely nothing to be upset about. I mean, St. X is a really good program, and you just have to be happy your first year in D1. I mean, you hung tough, and it's something to build upon for next season as well. So
definitely.
But then I guess we should probably make our picks. Do you think it's? I mean, I think Moeller's gonna come out on top against Princeton, but
I think it's
what do you think?
West. I think it'll be
Moeller West.
I think that the West game is going to be another close one. You know, you could you could make the argument for both games, right? Both these teams played each other week 1 of this season, and they've got the tape on each other. They've got the scouting on each other. So on paper, these should be really close matchups. I feel like St. X just has something. Every year, it seems like they have some sort of juice that they kind of
tap into.
They find that magic, right? and unfortunately for X, the big thing they've ran into the last however many years has been the Moeller machine. But it feels like they always end up against each other, or X always ends up somewhere near that Final Four or that regional final. So I would keep my eye on that game because I think a lot of people are going to write off St. X, and I think they have a decent enough, as good of a shot as anybody to pull off that upset.
Absolutely. And I mean, that game earlier in the year between West and X, I think, muffed. It was like they didn't muff a punt. It was a similar situation with what happened at Princeton Hamilton. Like a snap on a punt went over the head, and then West took over, scored a touchdown, or it was like a safe, something like that, where they just had some mental mistakes that I think if they're cleaned up now, it just makes it that much closer of a game because West squeaked out of there with a win week 1. But
absolutely.
I'm actually I might lean. I think X might get their revenge on West, and I think it might be a Moeller X final for the regionals.
Doesn't get much more.
Yeah, that's just GCL South right there. Yeah.
Yep.
But with all that being said, we'll move on to Division II, where you can see Anderson just continues to do Anderson things, which is beating the brakes off of their opponents. Vandalia Butler, good try.
I mean, they held it to 49. That's better than 78 or 75
for sure.
or whatever that was last week, right?
Yeah, 78-7.
So it could have been worse, but
for sure.
We'll talk more about, there's nothing really much to say about the Anderson Butler game. I don't know a ton about Butler. Anderson, like you said, just keeps doing Anderson things. And then you look at the other games,
Well, and then it's like, you got Mount Healthy. They've definitely surprised me. Just beating Aiken, then it's like not 2 scores, so convincing enough over Baden, who was a pretty good team this year too. I mean, they won the GCL co-ed, so definitely Mount Healthy's looking really solid. But they, are coming in and playing the buzzsaw, which is Anderson. So they're riding. Mount Healthy might be riding high right now, but they definitely have to stay focused, and if they want any chance of taking down Anderson.
I would say this: if I'm Anderson, I'm almost kind of disappointed. I think I would have rather seen a team that's not doesn't frequent the Tri-State. I know Baden plays in the GCL co-ed, but realistically, the only team in the GCL co-ed from here is McNick, right? So it's like, I don't know.
I know what you're saying though. Like
Yeah,
Mount Healthy plays some like more teams from around
yeah,
here, which is
they've got to
a
have
better.
a little bit of an edge, on even if it's scouting, something that can.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Jameer Spain, 288 and 3 touchdowns. It's a pretty solid day throwing the ball. I mean, I know he had a couple picks, but didn't matter too much.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I'm trying to find.
I think I wonder if what I'm trying to say is I think that Mount Healthy Anderson game is just a little bit more intriguing.
Yeah.
Than otherwise I would have thought Baden versus Anderson was. Although, if Baden would have went out and taken care of Mount Healthy easily, but like, oh, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, if we're giving predictions, I think this is obvious.
Yeah, for sure. Anderson's gonna move on. It's where it's just tough being on that side of the bracket where it's you just know you're gonna have to play them at some point. So I mean, best of luck to Mount Healthy. Hopefully they can make some noise and make it interesting. But on the other side, you have LaSalle getting an 8-point win over Kings, which I just want to give some credit to LaSalle. They started the year winning games like with baseball scores, like 3-0, 7-0, 10-0, whatever. They've just like these last few weeks, I mean, 69-21 against Monroe. And then 35-27 over Kings. That Elder game was a high-scoring game. It's like they've found different ways to win, whether it's playing a really grinded out defensive game or having to put points up on the board. So,
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I watched them play, numerous times or at least once this year, and the one key I think for LaSalle, especially in terms of their offensive game plan, is they have to get Patrick McLaughlin going on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that was the case in this game, but judging by the
don't have the box scores, unfortunately.
They do not. Okay. Well, I mean, even let's say this, even if it's not running, if you can get Patrick McLaughlin going in any capacity, that offense hums.
Yeah.
Right. One of the big things I noticed when I saw them play St. X is they were too inconsistent. Whether it be with their play calling or just with the successfulness of plays, there wasn't much, okay, hey, 4-yard gain here, 5-yard gain there. It was like 1 yard, 5 yards, 1 yard. You know what I mean? Consistent and methodical is the way I would describe their offense. And once they get going, it seems like they're a hard train to stop. And it seems like, I mean, Kings put up a great fight. So it's not like you can say, oh, Kings, fell victim to that offense, because they play great offense as well. It just looks like it boiled down to, kind of one of those games, right? There might have been a few punts here and there, but really whoever had the ball the most times, right? Yeah.
I mean, if you're Kings, it's definitely a heartbreaker, tough loss, but it's just that GCL South, man. It's the GCL South every year, man. It's just like they come through and they always show up in the playoffs. And
I think I mean, I don't mean to cut you off again, but I will actually add on to what you're saying, because I agree with you. And I think I have and I'm no expert, but like like my gut feeling about it is that since there's only 4 teams in that division, right, they get the opportunity to play really tough out non-conference schedules that prepare themselves for the postseason, and that's why you always see them show up in November and December.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, 4 teams. I mean, a lot of these other conferences have 8 to 10 teams in them, so you get 1, maybe 2 non-conference games, and then you're into a pretty rough conference schedule too, when it's like, like the ECC this year was really solid. You like 6 or 7 teams deep, or GMC was pretty solid this year too, especially at the top. I mean, Hamilton, Princeton, and West. So, but yeah, I definitely think you play those tough opponents. That's what's going to happen. But then also just want to shout out Harrison. Because Harrison has just been doing their thing all year, flying under the radar. I feel like they're not getting talked about a ton, but they have a very, very explosive offense.
This is not who LaSalle wanted to see win that game.
No, not at all. Because I was looking, so I had the box score pulled up. I mean, Cole Coops is playing unreal this year. 21 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns for Harrison. Dickie Angle, their quarterback, 167 and 2 touchdowns, which if you have a running back that's producing at that clip, getting 10 yards a carry, and then you have contributions from, some of the receivers in the run game, breaking off some chunk runs here too, but just Cole Coops' season stats. I mean, guy's a beast. He's been averaging 155 yards a game, has 19 touchdowns or 20 total touchdowns. And in the playoffs, he's ran for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns already.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So he's the X factor for Harrison if they want to beat LaSalle. Then it's vice versa for LaSalle. If you're LaSalle and you can bottle up Cole Coops, I think they'll win that game easily. But I think if you're Harrison, I mean, you have to establish that run and just do what you've done all year, which is run the ball really, really well. And then
I think Harrison's that true wild card team this year, where they've really flown under the radar. And had a quietly great season. And, here we are mid-November, and they're lining up against, like we talk about that GCL South school. And, typically you'd see LaSalle Harrison, right, pop up on your screen, or you'd read it in the paper, be like, But, man, I don't know. Like you talk about this Cole Coops.
And Angles had a pretty good year too. I mean, 30 touchdowns, 8 picks. I was just going to say LaSalle's has a really good secondary. So he's going to have to be really careful in terms of turning the ball over, because that's what won him the game against Elder that I was at. I mean, 70-yard pick 6.
Absolutely. I mean, every time I see a LaSalle box score, I feel like I see Sayre Smothers' name in there. Somewhere. The dude's all over the place.
That's name of the year for me. Sayre Smothers.
Smothers. Yeah, what a great name for a defensive back.
For a corner.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good shout, dude. Yeah.
No, but he's been awesome for LaSalle all year. So I think those are your keys to victory. If you're Harrison, is playing like turnover-free football and ride the hot hand in Cole Coops.
Then
if you're LaSalle, it's just the complete opposite. If you force turnovers and stop the run, they'll win.
I would say if you're Harrison, I would play this game as conservative in the pass game as you could possibly be. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from Dickie Angle. Like you said, had a great year, but you can't discount that LaSalle secondary. So hey, if we've got the run game rolling, don't try too hard to sell out on the play action.
Yeah.
Take it easy. Take what they give you. Could have an interesting matchup there. I don't know. I'm going to say LaSalle is my pick, but like I said, Harrison's that fits that to a T, that sleeper team.
For sure.
Yep.
And you also wonder too if because I think LaSalle matches up with Anderson really well because they can slow down that passing attack that Anderson has a little bit. Because they have hyping up Sayre Smothers.
Right.
But if they get to that point, I do think that they're probably a little bit better equipped to match up than Harrison is.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, I think Harrison might have that advantage in the run game where it's like this could be a rough matchup for LaSalle if they can't stop the run. But, with all that being said, that'll probably wrap up D2. And then D3, we'll just do a quick flyby because most of the teams that are in this are not from
I think all of them are not.
So, I mean, we'll just Wilmington ended up taking a tough loss to Wapakoneta, and then we were pulling for McNick
Close
last week,
loss.
and
Close loss.
tough loss to Bellbrook. But so for us moving forward, this Division III bracket is kind of dead for us.
What were the other two teams in there again? London and who else?
St. Mary's Memorial.
They beat the number 1 seed. I didn't even. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's a big upset.
That is a big upset.
Oh, yeah. I don't know
They've
anything about
stuck
any
out too.
I
Like
don't.
first round 4-point win, and then a 2-point win against the 1 seed.
That's pretty sweet. Good for
sure.
St. Mary's Memorial. I don't know anything about any of those teams, but
Same. That's why I
but
think
not to discount. I'm sure they've all had really great seasons.
Yeah. Just
Um,
not in our
I think
area.
Wapakoneta, if that's how you say it,
Yeah.
that's a pretty cool name for like a town, a
Yeah.
school. So that'd be cool to see them win, I guess, right? But I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on the box score, see if anything pops out to me. So maybe next week we have like a little something extra to add. Yeah.
Because D4 has been the fun one so far, which is
Mhm.
what we predicted. When you have Roger Bacon as a 16 seed at 6-4,
Mhm.
it's just a lot of talent on all these teams. But to start it off, great win for Indian Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Clinton Massey was dominant this year. And you just see,
What did we say
Indian Hill walks in there and ends up beating them in overtime. So,
what did we say on
really
Tuesday last week? What do you do if you're Indian Hill? You sell out to stop the run. Because I didn't we'll have to look at the box score, but
that's where I'm trying to find it in this.
Did you know what I mean? Did Clinton Massey have a passing attempt, passing? You know what I mean? Like, do they have any passing offense at all here?
So I don't know. It's not showing. Oh, yeah, here it is. Maybe. Oh no.
Blank.
That's unfortunate. Blank box scores. The worst.
Tough scene. Bane of our existence.
Yeah, either way, 13 points, it looks like Indian Hill was able to stop the run for the most part. So definitely a huge win for them, especially on, they're matched up with Taft. So probably going to have a little bit differing styles of play there, but that's going to be a really good matchup because Taft, it doesn't really look like they haven't played a close game in this playoffs
No,
yet.
they haven't slowed down yet.
That could work in Indian Hill's favor, coming off of a really tight win, where you have to play in, like if this is a close game. I'm not sure when the last time Taft has played. I can't ever remember which one Taft's in. It's definitely not the Cincinnati Hills League. Here it is. Okay. So I'm just seeing when the last time. So yeah, this could be a legitimate concern if I'm looking at Taft, is like their schedule this year. Especially they haven't played a close game since September 28th. Yeah. So I think if you're Indian Hill, if it's a close game, you got to feel confident with that. They've played a lot closer games than.
And they lost the two. They've lost the only two losses they had this year were two pretty good programs.
Yeah.
I mean, Mount Healthy's in the state, in the Division I or Division II.
D2, yeah.
D2, semifinal, regional semifinals, and I don't know much about what Rithra.
Yeah, so Indian Hill lost 49-19 to Harrison, and then Wyoming and Taylor, which were both good teams in the Cincinnati Hills League.
Interesting matchup for sure.
Which will lead me to our next point, which shocked us, was this matchup right here. Not only did Alter win, they won convincingly, 42-0 against Wyoming. And I really think the biggest thing for Wyoming was the fact that David Dupe, he just struggled in this game. 138, no touchdowns, 3 picks. You look at his season stats. He only had thrown one interception before that. So just a really uncharacteristic game for him, but he's also a sophomore. So if you're Wyoming, you got to feel pretty good going into these next couple of years with somebody who's played 12 games as a sophomore, had a really good season, came up a little short in the playoffs, but I don't think that's anything. And, Alter played great too. So, I mean, anytime you put up a 42-point shutout, that means something. I'm going to see if Alter's box score is. Nope, still no Alter. Okay. Anyways, no idea who scored or yardage for Alter, but still.
It'll show you on the play-by-play there at the.
Oh yeah.
The scoring plays. They all opened the game with a kick return.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Looks like they ran the ball really, really well.
Yeah, Drew Cripps. The 59-yard kickoff return, 62-yard run. Yeah, that's it's definitely tough just getting down 21-0 to start too. I feel like we've seen that a lot in this last week with the playoffs. It's like a lot of these teams got down 3 scores in the first quarter, and then it's like you're just fighting from so far behind the whole game. Right. It's hard to really.
Well, it's like you're forced to play. Yeah, you get stuck behind.
Perfect.
You get stuck behind 3 scores like that, right? You're almost basically forced to throw the ball.
So you see that with Wyoming too.
They explained the 3 turnovers, right? The 3 picks. You're forced to make plays to get back into that game.
Yeah. And you never know too, like some of those picks can come on a 4th and long where you're just throwing it up, trying to give a receiver a chance to. But yeah, definitely if you're Wyoming, they've won a lot in recent years. So having a year off, and their quarterback's a sophomore, you got a lot to look forward to the next couple of years. They'll have a lot of success. But that leaves one more matchup to talk about, and just great year so far for Taylor and Coach Stransman over there. Makes me happy to see his Coach Stransman coach me. But they beat Germantown Valley View 42-10. So I was hoping that they would get a rematch with Wyoming, but they got to walk in and play an Alter team that, I would assume they have a lot of confidence right now.
This is definitely the excuse me. This is definitely the most interesting, final, semifinal, regional semifinal out of all 4 divisions. If I were guessing man right now, this is Taylor's to lose. They've got I think they had probably the hardest schedule out of
all those teams. I'll look at Alters real quick just to see. But yeah, Alter lost to Taft earlier in the year, squeaked by Withrow, lost to
Bellbrook, McNick, Baden. So yeah, Alter. That's a really surprising win over Wyoming.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah. Just to convincingly do it 42-0. Right. That's where it's just a little. And it was on the road too.
At Wyoming.
Yeah.
They got smoked by Taft. Yeah. So it's like very interesting Final Four teams here. But if I'm Taylor, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
I like my chances. I like my chances if you're Taylor because, you beat Indian Hill earlier in the year too. So if you get that Indian Hill matchup, it's somebody that you're comfortable with and But this is gonna be interesting because Taft. Taft could also run the table too.
I think it's going to come down to
I think
Taft.
it'll end up being Taft and Taylor next week.
And that could be an interesting matchup for sure.
But, the world will just have to see.
We're trying to make our best predictions as we can here.
Yeah. So, but this has been the most fun to see play out just because of how competitive it was 1 through 16.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, look at your seeds. You've got the 9 seed, the 5 seed, the 10 seed, and Taylor's the 6, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much more.
Yeah, and then for comparison, you have a 2-3, and then an 8 and a 4.
If you go back to the D1, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, right?
Yeah.
Or no, St. X was 6. St. X was the 6.
But you have 1, 5, 2, and 6, and then you have 1, 4, 2, and 6. So definitely the fourth Division 4 has the most parity in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, if you want to make it far in the Ohio State football playoffs, don't draw the 3 seed. That's what we've learned just from reading off the regional semis.
The 3 seed's a bad draw.
Bad draw.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, they both are okay. So all of the 3 seeds got out of the first round, but then it's just like whoever's gotten that 6 seed has been, I feel like, better than the 6 seed for
sure.
Harrison, X, McNick, and and then Taylor. Those are all the 6 seeds. So
I guess Spellbrook made it through as a 3.
Yeah,
but barely, still 1 out of 4.
Yeah. So, but I guess with all that, that's about all we have for tonight, I believe.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting. Some more playoff football, and this time next week we'll know our regional finals, and then we're getting into the really juicy stuff with the state finals. And there are some teams we expected to be here at this point, but like we just talked about, Division 4, there's some teams we didn't. So it's exciting, and I'm curious to see what happens this weekend. And we will be back here again on next Monday night to break down all the action from the regional finals, talk a little bit about the regional semifinals. Then we'll talk a little bit about the regional finals, and we'll get you geared up for the home stretch of the 2024 Ohio football post-football season. I will really quickly, just while I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm going to turn it off on the bottom because I'm just going to read it off my screen. Some scores from outside of Ohio, just because we don't have the brackets, so we can't really cover it. But so Covcath easily took care of Boyd County, 42-14. Ryle easily took care of Pleasure Ridge, 39-0. St. X Louisville St. X beat Simon Kenton, 48-13. Cooper continues to roll over anything in their path this year. 56-28 over South Oldham. It's Oldham, I don't know. Yeah. And then finally, Highlands easily took care of Collins, 45-0. So there's some scores from Kentucky, some other small stuff. Shawnee Julienne lost 24-12 to London. Dublin Kaufman blew out Lebanon 56-20, and that's all the other scores I have for everybody. But just to kind of show them some love. And then I'm sure Indiana, it's probably Lawrenceburg and East Central, if I had to guess. But that's those.
And Cooper, after the regular season end, Cooper was number 4 in the Tri-State football ranking.
Really, really, really
behind Anderson, West, and Moeller. So they're in really good company. So
they are definitely rolling this year.
They're legit.
Yes, for sure. Anywho, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We hope everyone enjoyed, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great evening and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah.